And you remember during the election, the Trump Foundation came under some pretty heavy scrutiny for some of its non-charitable expenditures. Now, those included a $20,000 of his foundation's money that was used to purchase a portrait of himself. And of course, you also had the signed football helmet from Tim Tebow, as well as the jersey. So, now after the election, the Trump Foundation had admitted to violating a legal prohibition on what they call self-dealing, or using money meant for a nonprofit to benefit its leader. Turns out there's another case of self-dealing that has been found out as well. Now, they violated these rules, like I said, for the Trump Foundation, admitted it, and like everything, of course, in the Trump administration, I'm sorry, not administration, in the Trump family, everything that they do, whether it be charities, always comes down to serving one purpose: to enrich the family. Now, if you think that was bad, it gets worse. According to a report released Tuesday by Forbes, once his son's Eric's charity golf tournament started raising a substantial amount of money for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital, which specializes in pediatric cancer, Donald Trump began charging for the use of Trump Organization golf courses and ultimately funneling the money the tournament raised into other charities that benefit Donald Trump's business interests. Lovely. Now, okay. First off, Eric Trump, when he was talking to Forbes, he said, man, about my charity, look, virtually all the money that we get contributed goes towards helping the kids with cancer. You know why? Because we get to use our assets 100% free of charge. We do this golf tournament on my dad's courses, on our family's courses, the Trump courses. So, of course, we're going to eat that cost. Really? I mean, he even says that the much of the free food or much of the food, drinks, entertainment, and equipment is either comped or paid for by sponsors, which actually for a while was true if you had asked him back in 2007. It's a little different now. According to filings from the Eric Trump Foundation and other charities, it is clear that that course was not that was not like that. Those courses were not free. That stuff was not free. The drinks, food, entertainment, no, it wasn't free. In fact, the Trump Organization actually received payments for its use, for all that stuff. Part of more than $1.2 million that has no documented recipients past anyone in the Trump Organization. Now, golf charity experts, who they talked to, said the list of expenses defied any reasonable cost justification for a one-day golf tournament. So let me go back and tell you how much it cost. Now, originally, the Eric Trump Foundation employed no staff until 2015, and its annual expenses averaged 13%. Now, that's about half of what most charities pay in overhead. So back then, okay, your charity's actually doing pretty good. Now, his original 7-person board was actually made up of personal friends, an innocuous lot who helped sell tournament tickets, which last year ranged from $3,000 for a single all-day ticket to $100,000 for a pair of VIP foursomes. So, now what they actually brought in before they, before they changed everything to a for-profit model, they actually, expenses were about $50,000 per tournament. So that was the cost, and the rest of the money that was donated went to charity. Okay. That's actually not bad because, again, a lot of that overhead, half of that overhead compared to other charities, like charities were more expensive and they had more overhead than the Trump Foundation. So now in the early years, Ian Gilule, who served as membership and marketing director at Trump National Westchester during 2 stints from 2006 to 2015, said in the early years they weren't being billed for the club. The bills would just disappear. Okay, well, the bills would disappear, meaning they would eat the cost of these tournaments, and most of that money would go to charity. That is until Donald Trump got involved. Now, in 2011, Forbes explains, the cost had rose from $50,000 to $142,000. Now, this was allegedly because Donald Trump had learned that the course was being used without charge, and he became very upset. Mr. Trump said Galil, had a cow. He flipped. He was like, we're donating all this stuff and there's no paper trail. That money just disappeared. No credit? And he went nuts. He said, I don't care if my son or not, everybody gets billed. Everybody gets billed. Charity, man. What charity? I don't care what we do as long as I get some money from this. You know why? I want to make a profit. Cancer kids, don't care. This guy's a monster. We know Donald Trump's a monster. Now, Galil adds, I saw that Eric was getting billed. I would always say, I can't believe that his dad is billing him for a charitable outing. But that's what they wanted. Oh, that's what Donald Trump wanted. Okay. Now, it gets worse. Additionally, the Donald J. Trump Foundation apparently used the Eric Trump Foundation to funnel $100,000 in donations into revenue for the Trump Organization. And while the donors to the Eric Trump Foundation were told that their money was going to help sick children, more than $500,000 was redonated to other charities. Now, many of which were connected to the Trump Foundation, to the Trump family members or interests, including at least 4 groups that subsequently paid to hold golf tournaments at Trump courses. So basically what that means is that Donald Trump was laundering money through this tournament by having the foundations donate to his son in order to cover the event fees that the Trump Organization was now being paid. Wow. In effect, though, this maneuver, they write, would appear to have more in common with a drug cartel's money laundering operation than a charity's best practices textbook. That $100,000 in outside donations to the Donald J. Trump Foundation passed through the Eric Trump Foundation and somehow wound up in the coffers of Trump's private businesses. Isn't that funny how that seems to work out? So he turned his son's charity into a money laundering operation so that he could make some money. That's amazing. Now, what effect did this have? By 2015, the event's expenses had reached a whopping $322,000. Remember, it started at $50,000 and it ballooned because Donald Trump's like, I'm going to start charging people for everything, for use of the course, for the food, for the entertainment. I'm going to charge everything so that I can pocket that money. All that money, instead of going to the charity, which is St. Jude's, the cancer patients, it was some of it, a big chunk of this, ended up going to the pockets of Donald Trump. This is clearly, like I said, money laundering. Now, let me ask you a question. What billionaire needs to skim profit from a charity? I mean, seriously, this is absolutely grotesque. Come on. So, how did they actually do this? Well, apparently, Donald Trump, when he found out that, hey, I could actually make money from this charity, so let's go and do that. Well, what he did to do this is that he installed people on the foundation's board, which was initially, as I mentioned, made up of friends of Eric's who had no financial interest in the Trump Organization's success. They were completely separate from the Trump Organization. In 2010, however, the year the economics of the tournament suddenly pivoted, 4 of the 7 original board members who were personal friends of Eric left. Those 4 were eventually replaced by 14 new board members. You go from 4 to 14. And actually, it went to 19 in total. Now, the majority of those people, by the way, who got brought into the board had a financial stake in the Trump Organization. 6 of them were effectively full-time employees, which, of course, full-time employees, well, they end up getting salaries. 6 of them, like I said, they were full-time employees. One of them was Michael Cohen, and another was Executive Vice President Dan Scavino Jr. Now, they also serve in political roles for President Trump. Now, another owns a company that billed the Trump campaign a total of $16 million. Now, you add in, of course, Eric himself, his wife, Laura, and 19 of the 17 Eric Trump Foundation board members end up having a vested interest in the money-making side of the Trump empire. Wow. Patrick Lanigan, former director of golf at Trump National Westchester, told Forbes, quote, "They were wearing two hats. You're dealing with people talking about the event and the charity who also at the same time are thinking about it as a corporation and as a business. It's a for-profit club, you know. They're trying to make money. They're trying to make money off a for-profit entity. But wait, the whole point of the entity is not to get profit." And of course, Trump comes in and says, no, we're going to make profit. We're going to make profit off cancer kids. We're going to build this whole event or this series of events as we're going to help out the cancer kids. Those poor cancer kids, we got to do something about them. We're going to fund them. We're going to do a fundraiser. Then we're going to give all this money to St. Jude's. Donald Trump says, actually, that's not what we're going to do. That's what we say on the outside. On the inside, we're going to make sure that some of this money ends up in my pocket. It's grotesque. Now, soon after the board took over, large sums of money meant for St. Jude's were rerouted to other charities run by associates of Donald Trump. Now, some of these other charities, by the way, they were actually not related to cancer. One of them was for people with disabilities. Okay, hey, great. The charity named Alibis, for example, was given $5,000 from the Trump Organization. Well, wait a minute. So they're bringing all this money, right? And you give them $5,000 donation? Hey, man, look, money going for people with disabilities is great. But $5,000, especially when I tell you the next stat. Alibis, in return, spent an estimated $240,000 hosting tournaments at the property. Again, this is what they had to pay for personally, all for a $5,000 donation. That's it? That's it? You've got to be kidding me. Now, there's another one. Julie's Jungle, who had received $25,000 in total donations from the Donald and Eric Trump Foundations in 2013. Now, this was money that the founder, a woman named Janet McHugh, figured came from Donald and Eric personally. Like, oh, hey, man, they believe in our charity. They believe in what we're doing. And so they gave us money out of their own personal. Well, bless their hearts. Well, it turns out that no, that actually did not come from them. It came from their foundations. And 2 years later, her charity hosted a golf tournament at Trump National Hudson Valley. McHugh said the decision to hold her tournament there was not related to the donation because, quote, they didn't compass the golf course. We paid. So they use their foundation, not out of their own money, because their foundation, that money comes from the donors. They don't really put a whole lot of money, especially Donald Trump has put no money into his own foundation and uses that money still as a personal piggy bank. That's insane. Again, it's completely grotesque. Now, when it comes to questionable, some questions into how they spent the money and what they spent the money on. In 2013, Eric Trump used some of his foundation's money, rather than his own, to pay $1,600 to the American Society for Enology and Viticulture for a copper wine still and an antique bottle washer at a trade event and fundraiser that he was keynoting. In 2012, the Eric Trump Foundation also wrote a check for $25,000 to the George Rodriguez Foundation of the Arts. That same year, George Rodriguez, who had his famous Blue Dog painting sometimes sold for about $25,000, created a portrait of Donald Trump for the auction at Eric's event. That portrait ended up hanging over the couch in Eric Trump's house, where he was photographed sitting beneath it 2 years later. So there's your questionable expenses. Using that donor money to go and buy personal things. A wine still. Are you kidding me? And look, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that every single dollar that was donated to this foundation went to Donald Trump or went to Eric Trump personally. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just saying that there's enough of it to go, hey, wait a minute, this seems rather corrupt. Look, the Eric Trump Foundation has actually done some good. They actually did donate a significant amount of money to St. Jude's. Last year, the Eric Trump Foundation donated $2.9 million to St. Jude's. So I'm not saying they're 100% corrupt. But at the same time, it is clear from the Forbes documents that Donald Trump and Eric Trump have been using their foundations to get a little money from the side. And that's not right. So, look, and I also have to say, I think that if Donald Trump hadn't gotten involved and transformed the charity into what was essentially a money laundering scheme, that maybe this wouldn't have happened, this wouldn't have been an issue. But unfortunately, that's what happened, and that's what's so utterly gross about it. Donald Trump is a guy that sees a perfectly good charity run by his son, where some of his properties ate the cost. Sometimes you got to eat the cost, right? In order to do something for the greater good. But since Donald Trump's greed is legendary, he says absolutely not. Can't do it. We have to find a way to profit from this. And you know why? It's because that's who Donald Trump is. That is the kind of person that he is. And the sooner you realize it, the sooner you realize that that's exactly what he's going to try to do to the country. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.